Start. Hello everyone. Here we are going to see the chapter of chemistry named as a solution, which is having the weightage of 5 marks out of 70 marks and the 7 marks out of 98 marks. Now let's start. So the air. Last year we are having known about the mixture, and the example for the mixture is in day-to-day life is the air, which is the mixture of different components like dust particles, then smoke particles. The different types of gases are also there. Moisture is also present in the air. The seawater is also example for the mixture, which contains the different types of minerals, then the river, that water from the different rivers, and the dissolved state gases are also present in the seawater, on which that marine life is existing. Now this mixture is classified into two types, that is a homogeneous and the second one is the heterogeneous. That homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture, here that homogeneous means the same, the component in the homogeneous mixture are in a uniform phase, and the components in the heterogeneous mixture are in a non-uniform type. So uniform and non-uniform type means that sizes are different. Now we can see the next thing, that is a homogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixtures are classified into three types due to their component size. The first type for the homogeneous mixture is a coarse mixture. The second type is the colloidal mixture, and the third one is the true solution. The size of the coarse mixture of the component, that size of the component in the coarse mixture, here we can say it is seen with the naked eyes. Naked eyes we can see the size. That example for that is salt and sugar. Here we can see the colloidal mixtures. Here the component size is about 10⁻⁷ centimeter to 10⁻⁴ centimeter. And the third one is a true solution, in which the size of the component is about 10⁻⁸ centimeter, and these components from the mixture to solutions are not separated by a simple mechanical method. Now from this one, true solutions, we are saying that solutions are nothing but the also mixture which is formed due to the solute and the solvent particles. That solute and solvent, if there is a one solute and one solvent, we are getting the binary mixture. If there are two solute and one solvent, then we are getting the tertiary solution, and then if there are the three solutes and one solvent, we are getting the quaternary solution. In this chapter mostly we are going to see the binary solutions, that is a consists of a one solute particle, one solute and the one solvent, and most of the cases the solvent is used as a water. Now what is meant by the solute and the solvent? Then the concentration of solute in a solution which is in a lower quantity is called as a solute, and the concentration of the component which is in a higher quantity is known as a solvent. Okay. Now due to the state of solute and solvent, there are the types of solution, that is the solid solution, liquid solution and the gaseous solution. Now firstly we are going to see the example, that state of a solute. The solid is taken in a liquid, the example is a seawater, and sugar. If we are going to take sugar in a water, it is dissolved, so liquid is used as a solvent. Then if solid is used as solvent and the solute state is also solid, then we are known example, that is a metal alloys, that is a brass and bronze. Solid in a gas, so solute is in a gases, so iodine in a solid state and the air in a gaseous state. If we are going to take the example for the liquid solution, then the liquid solute and the liquid solvent. We are getting the example for the ethanol or water. So ethanol in a liquid state, water is also in a liquid state. So liquid in a solid. So in the organic reaction we are going to use this amalgam, that is mercury with the metals. That mercury is in a liquid state and the metals are in a solid state. Then the liquid in a gas. So nitrogen in a gaseous state and the chloroform in a liquid state. Liquid chloroform is there and there is a mixing of this. So gas in a liquid, that is a carbonated water. Means if you are going to take the example for the Coca-Cola or the different cold drink soft drinks are there, then that is the example for the carbonated water. The gas solute in a solid solvent, that is the H2 in a palladium, that is in a surface chemistry we are going to use, that is a H2 Pt or H2 nickel, that different types of metals are used. And gas in a gas, that best example for the gas in a gas is the air, which is the mixing of different types of gases. Okay. Now we are going to start the new point, that is the capacity to dissolve solute. Here we say that solute and solvent get mixed together to form the solution. Suppose we are going to take the example, we are going to consider one beaker in which we are going to take the solvent as a water, and we are going to add the salt into it. Then it forms the solution. Now if we are going to add increasing order of that salt into the water, then dissolution takes place. Initially the dissolution of the salt is at higher rates, afterwards it slows down at one stage it stops, that dissolution stops, and there that formation of solution, here we can't add more salt into that, and that state is there is a equilibrium state, and that is nothing but we are getting the saturated solution. So what is meant by the saturated solution? Saturated solution, it is nothing but the maximum amount of solute is dissolved. Maximum amount of solute dissolved in a given amount of a solvent, and it is takes place at a specific temperature, that is known as a saturated solution. Okay, that is the first type of a solution. The second type is a unsaturated solution. This unsaturated solution, we are getting that it contains less amount of solute. It contains less amount of solute as compared to the saturated solution. As compared to the saturated solution, known as a unsaturated solution. And the supersaturated solution, here we are saying that supersaturated solution, we already reached the stage at a saturated stage, and then if we are going to add more salt into it, it can't dissolve. So excess of solute is dissolved. Now the third type of the solution is the supersaturated solution. So whatever saturated solution is formed, there is, if we are going to add the excess amount of solute, then it does not dissolve. So supersaturated solution is nothing but the containing excess of solute than required. Excess of solute than required for saturated solution. Saturated solution which does not dissolve. Such type of solution is called as supersaturated solution. Okay, the next point we are going to start, that is the solubility. So what is meant by solubility? So solubility of the solute, that is the dissolution of solute into the solvent. So it is the amount of solute per unit volume of the saturated solution. So saturated solution means just the amount required for the formation of the solution is the saturated solution, and the amount of solute per unit volume of saturated solution at a specific temperature is called as a solubility. And suppose we are going to sing that amount of solute. So amount of solute considered in a mole, and per unit volume, the volume unit is a dm cube or liter. So we are getting the unit for this one is a mole per dm cube or mole per liter. Okay, so there are the factors affecting on the solubility. The first factor which is affecting on the solubility of the particular solute, that is the nature of solute and the solvent. So we very know about the nature of solute and solvent. Last year or in somewhere we are knowing that like dissolves like. Like dissolves like means the nature of solute and the nature of solvent, if they are the same, then they can dissolve easily. So polar compound, we are having the polar molecules, we are having the polar solvents. So if you are going to take the example of NaCl, NaCl can be dissociated into Na++ Cl- ions, and if this is added into the water, water dissociates into H+ and OH- ions, then this can form the ionic state, water can form the ionic state. So these are the like dissolves like. So if the both the solute and solvent in a same phase or in a polar state, they can easily dissolve in the particular solvent. But if you are showing that non-polar, so non-polar solvents such as the organic solute or organic solute, we are going to take the example, that is a cholesterol. Cholesterol is the example for the organic solute which is dissolved into the benzene. So it is a non-polar solute which is dissolving into the non-polar solvent. So the solubility is increases if there are the polar molecules dissolving into the polar solvent. The next thing which is affected on the solubility is the effect of temperature. Normally we are saying that if temperature increases, the solubility increases. In the day-to-day life, we are going to take example of salt and the water. If we are going to add salt into the simple water in a container, then what will happen? If we are going to add some salt, some amount of salt, it dissolves. If you are going to increase the amount of salt, and then it also dissolving into the water. Now, if we are going to give heat to the solvent, then we can also add more amount of salt into it. Means here the heat is added, or it is an endothermic reaction, and solubility increases. Means what is happen? Last year we are having the one principle, that is the Le-Chatelier's principle, in which if we are getting the solution and it at an equilibrium state, that solute and solvent are added and we are getting the equilibrium state, then if you are going to add more amount of solute, then that equilibrium is shifted, and then equilibrium is disturbed. So the Le-Chatelier's principle says that the stress is applied to that side where the stress is nullified. So here what we are saying, that we are going to increase the temperature, and then temperature increases and the solute is going to dissolve into the solvent, and again the equilibrium is established into that. Means addition of heat causes a stress on saturated solution favors the endothermic reaction. It is not 100% sure that temperature increases and the solubility increases, because in the next example we can say that if calcium chloride we are going to add the water in it, or into water we are going to add the calcium chloride, then there is exothermic reaction. Exothermic reaction means heat is come out and still it is a decreasing. So solubility decreases with increase in a temperature. Here the new point is that the variation of solubilities of some ionic solids with temperature. We are going to draw the graph of solubility against the temperature. Solubility is measured in a mole per dm cube and temperature in a degree Celsius. Now here are the some ionic solids are there. Here we can say some curves are at the upper side of the graph and some curves are at the lower side. From this we can say that some of the ionic compounds solubility changes appreciably with the temperature and some are with the slight solubility is there, where some slightly soluble into with the increase in the temperature. Now the first we can say the NaBr, that is sodium bromide, sodium chloride and the potassium chloride, NaCl, KCl and the NaBr. These are ionic solids whose solubility is slightly changes with the increase in the temperature. Then the next is potassium nitrate, then the sodium nitrate and the KBr. So potassium nitrate, sodium nitrate and the KBr, that solubility increases appreciably with temperature, means if temperature increases it is highly soluble. And the one more point, that is the sodium sulfate. Here we can say that graph or the curve is at a downward side. As temperature increases its solubility is decreases. So solubility of sodium sulfate is decreases with increase in temperature. Now we are going to see the next new point, that is the solubility of gases in water with increase in a temperature. Now last year we are having the law, Charles law here is there, that pressure and volume or temperature and the volume is there, that as temperature increases volume increases. So gases state molecules, when temperature increases that volume of gases also increases. Now if you are seeing that example of marine water or sea water, in which the surface is heated with the sun rays and the gaseous molecules, we are saying that dissolved gases are present in the seawater, due to that aquatic life is there. So whatever molecules of dissolved gases which is helpful for the marine life, they are here. With increase in a temperature, that gaseous molecules, that volume is increases and that volume increases, then they go in a upper level and the dissolved gas, oxygen or dissolved gases in that layer or surface area is become less, so that the aquatic animal which are present there, they are prefer to live in a bottom level in the sea, because here the temperature is in a less amount and that dissolved oxygen or required gases for the marine life is available there. Also we are saying that whenever that in higher industries, that coolant is required, because there is a higher temperature in industries are used, so they are taken seawater as a coolant, and then hot water which is waste water in the industries, they are given back to the sea, and then that is not useful, because that hot water not contains or not dissolving any dissolved gases, and so which are useful for the marine life. So that in marine life is having an adverse effect due to the that industries and the seawater which is at the higher level, marine life is not there. The next point is the effect of pressure on the solubility. So what is the effect of pressure? So in solids and liquids, solids we are saying that the solid molecules are compactly packed with each other. Intermolecular space in between them is very less, so they are incompressible. In some hot liquids also they are having the less amount of intermolecular space, so they are not compressible, or they are at a pressure that if we are going to apply pressure, they are not compressible. So there is no effect of pressure on the solubility of a solids and the liquids. But in case of gases are highly compressible because pressure is applied, the gases can be compressed, so gases affects by the pressure. So higher is the pressure, solubility of the gases increases. So that the next point in which we are going to see how that solubility with the higher pressure increases for the gases. Okay, so here we are going to start the new point, that is the Henry's law, that is the relationship between the gas solubility in a liquid and the pressure. So gas solubility and the pressure is having the relation which is given by the Henry's. So what is the statement for that? It states that the solubility of a gas in a liquid, so whatever gas is there which is soluble in a liquid is directly proportional to the pressure of the gas over the solution. So here we are saying that the solubility, if we are going to give in a S, so S is the solubility of a gas, is directly proportional to the pressure of the gas over the solution. So this is the Henry's law. S is directly proportional to the P. If you are going to give this as a equation 1, then removing this direct proportionality sign, if you are going to write S equal to K P, so K is nothing but the proportionality constant and it is given as a KH. H is for the Henry's constant. So K is the Henry's constant, or we can say that it is a proportionality constant, and S is the solubility of gas in a liquid, and P is the pressure of the gas over the solution. So here we are getting the relationship between the solubility and the pressure. So unit for solubility. So solubility is, we are going that unit for solubility is, last point we are saying that mole per dm cube or mole per liter, and we are having the unit for the pressure, that is the barometric pressure, or it is also in a atmospheric pressure. So what is the unit for the soluble, that KH, that is the Henry's constant. So if you are derived the formula for the Henry's constant, KH is equal to P, KH is equal to S upon P, so is equal to mole per dm cube upon bar. So we are getting the unit for Henry's constant is mole per dm cube per bar, and this is known as a Henry's constant. Now we are going to see the exceptions to the Henry's law. That we are having two examples, that is a NH3 and CO2. These are having the exceptional cases for the Henry's law, which does not obey the Henry's law because these are very soluble into the water. It gives a reaction with the water, that is a NH3 when going to dissolve into the water, it gives NH4 plus plus OH minus, and if CO2 is dissolved into the water, we are getting the H2CO3, that is the carbonic acid, and due to this higher solubility into the water, these are having the higher solubility than the expected by the Henry's law. These are having the higher solubilities.